It was always the freaking Detroit Lions, wasn't it? Always the Detroit Lions. Oh my goodness. Folks, welcome to the very first episode of The Huddle, the new podcast and show from us here at Oddshark. Yes, both platforms. They say I have a face for the audio platform, so we're getting the podcast out there as well. I am Andrew Avery, aka Chalk Ninja, as your host. And with me is my co-host, someone who is much more smarter and intelligent than I am, Tony Farmer from our friends at Prediction Machine. Tony, how's it going on this fine Friday?
It's going well, man. You alluded to that Thursday night game last night. Ooh, wow. The Packers really put up a stinker there. I really thought they were going to put up more of a fight last night, man.
Like, for real, so did I. But let's start there with that Thursday nighter. Lions do it to the Packers again. I don't know if you knew this, but they're now 11-2 against the spread in their last 13 against Green Bay, and 8-5 straight up. So that's a pretty good return for the Detroit Lions. Some props that hit in this one, in this 34-20 Lions win at Lambeau. We had St. Brown first TD. I saw anywhere from 9-1 to 12-1. We had Goff under 249.5. We had Watson anytime TD at plus 230. David Montgomery, holy cow, where did this guy come from? Anytime TD at 2-1. Dobbs over 39.5 receiving yards, and Jordan Love over 32.5 pass attempts. Did you have any props action on this one, Tony?
The only one that I hit was Watson's anytime touchdown, but I lost a couple. I took Watson's alt receiving yard total. I really thought he was going to have a bigger game, his first game of the season, and Love has been taking deep shots all season long and not hitting. So I was thinking, hey, he's back. He's going to have his guy. And I thought they were going to have a bigger connection last night. So glad to hit the touchdown prop. But really, Andrew, last night for me was kind of a live better's paradise. You kind of saw early on in that game that the Packers, I mean, they just looked lethargic, didn't they? It looked kind of like a preseason game almost, like they were taking it that seriously, even though it was a huge game in the division. And so that was kind of a live better's paradise. I hit some first quarter live bets, but lost a few prop bets on Watson.
Well, that leads to a bigger question here. Like, talk about this division. I'm seeing the Lions are like minus 200 to win that NFC North, and I know the rest of that division is not looking good. But are the Lions for real here? Do we take this team seriously moving forward?
I think so, man. Remember, they beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So that means if the Packers are going to catch up in the division, they've still got to play the Chiefs, right? The Packers have a stranglehold on this division. They've got a tiebreaker so far because of the win last night. They've got two big wins under their belt. Now, are they for real in terms of being better than San Francisco, Philadelphia, or how would they fare if they did have a Super Bowl matchup against the Chiefs? I don't think they're quite there yet in that elite tier, but in terms of winning the division, absolutely, they're for real, and they've got to be a huge favorite now in the North.
I'm seeing this tweeted from Oddshark. Lions minus 200, Pack plus 320, Vikes plus 600. I think they're getting an unfair shake. I think there's a team there in Minnesota when you look at what Cousins is doing, Justin Jefferson. Unfair, in my opinion, but they are winless. And of course, the Bears at the bottom there at plus 2,500. What do you make of the Vikings, though, Tony, before we pivot topics here? What do you make of that team?
Yeah, if you're a long shot bettor, still stay away from the Bears. I don't see any signs of life with them. But I see your point about the Vikings. They've had a lot of turnovers in the red zone, right? So They have the players. They have a decent coaching staff. It's just a matter of getting some good luck. And it's funny because they had all that good luck last year, right? They won so many close games. They won so many games in overtime. And now it seems like we're seeing some regression toward the mean here. And we're seeing, the Vikings, maybe there's some karma involved and they used up some of that karma last year. So yeah, I think if they get a couple more bounces their way, they're not an 0-3 team. I mean, they're better than that. And we may see that this week in a tough game on the road against Carolina. We'll see. I think this game against Carolina is going to be very telling for the rest of their season.
I want to talk some Miami Dolphins, of course, here. But before that, I got to talk a little Dame Lillard. Dame, of course, heading to Milwaukee in a 3-team trade. Broke on Wednesday. We all know about it. Bucks now plus 375 to win the championship, plus 160 to win the East, plus 850 to win that brand new NBA in-season tournament. It certainly forms a great 1-2 between Dame and, of course, Giannis there, but I don't know that the Bucks are necessarily better per se. 11 years with the Blazers there, Tony. I don't necessarily blame Dame for wanting out. He's given that city and that franchise everything. He's been carrying them for all those 11 years. Nick actually has a great article with everything you need to know odds related in that Dame trade up on oddshark.com. But Tony, a lot of talk here about loyalty in pro team sports or lack thereof. Is loyalty dead? Is those one team, that one franchise athlete dead? Or should there even be loyalty considering how easily teams cut players or move players around? And maybe with the recent rumors that we're hearing about Portland wouldn't even negotiate with Miami, which is the team that Dame wanted to go to. Maybe this is killing the NBA player power movement. But what's your opinion there on, that one team loyalty that we've seen in the past, but don't necessarily see so much anymore, with the exception of like Steph and Clay over in Golden State and Draymond for that matter?
Yeah, I don't think loyalty is completely dead yet, but I'd say, it's on life support. Like if you look at all the different sports, we've got football teams moving cities. I spent a lot of time in Vegas, and there's not a ton of locals who root for the Raiders because they've already got these teams that they've been rooting for a while. We've got the Rams and Chargers Stadium in LA. There's seemingly more visitor fans in those home stadiums than home fans. And you see people just in casual conversation at the water cooler or on Twitter saying things like, I don't want to buy this player's jersey because he might be traded in a year or he might be traded in 2 years, and I'm just throwing $80 down the drain. And so, yeah, I think that loyalty thing, it's not dead yet, but we're seeing it. Maybe it's going to become a thing of the past.
I know that the Miami Dolphins probably want that loyalty out of Tua with the way that team is going so far. And we got to talk Fins here, Tony. Week 3, obviously the big story, hanging a cool 70-point spot on the absolutely pathetic Denver Broncos, I will say. But they get a marquee opponent this week in week 4 at the Buffalo Bills, currently 3-point road dogs, but the highest total of the week, anywhere from 53.5 to 54, as I sit here Friday morning. Under hits at a rate of 55.3% for totals over 50 since 2018, and at 57.5% for a total of at least 53 over that same stretch. 4 instances so far this season, and the under is 1 in 3 of a total over 50. Do you have any rules of thumb for totals that go that high?
When you see high totals like that, one of the things that I start thinking about is with teaser bets, your teasers start being a little less valuable. So that's something to keep in mind. Once we go over like 47, 48, I'm less likely to be betting a teaser at that point. And then you also start thinking about variance. And so high point spreads and how they correlate with totals and things like that. So those are some things to keep an eye on. Also, key numbers. 47 is a pretty key number. 51 is a pretty key number. 54 is a pretty key number. And so when they start getting into 50s, keep an eye on those key numbers. I mean, keep an eye on key numbers all the time, but those are some things to think about.
There were rumors that NFL owners were pissed off about McDaniel running up the score, which to me is absolutely insane. What do you think about comments like that, both as a fan and as a bettor? Surely the Miami Dolphins are must-see TV, and it's doing the NFL a world of good so far.
I mean, the Dolphins offense right now, Andrew, is so fun to watch. They could have, would you argue with this? Maybe the 4 fastest offensive players in the league?
That's the rumor.
Well, that's fun to watch. This is a team for live betting purposes. That's great because they're never going to be out of it. Kind of like the Chiefs, like we saw in the years past when they had Tyreek Hill, et cetera. They were never out of a game. You could get great odds when you're live betting. So yeah, the Dolphins are a fun team to watch, but the disrespect angle I thought was pretty interesting because look who was on the other side of that. We had the Broncos on the other side of that. And Sean Payton came out in the offseason and said something extremely disrespectful about Nathaniel Hackett, saying it was one of the worst coaching performances in NFL history. So I've got a little theory here, and I want to see if it sticks. I've got no sources, nothing to back this up. This is just a baseless conspiracy theory, but I want to see what you think about it. I think the rest of the league is not happy with Sean Payton, not just because of those super disrespectful comments, but also look what happened. He was coaching the Saints. Drew Brees leaves. He spends 1 year without Drew Brees. He takes a cushy TV job, and then he comes out of his cushy TV job and jumps on a franchise that seemingly had a decent roster. We're learning otherwise now, right? But seemingly was in a position to take that leap forward. So I wonder if coaches are kind of, like we're hearing in college football, people are not so happy with Deion Sanders. They want to run the score up on him for completely different reasons. I wonder if Sean Payton has rubbed his colleagues the wrong way.
Not only that, has Sean Payton rubbed his team the wrong way? Have they quit on him already after 3 weeks? And to that point, are the Broncos a team that bettors avoid?
I mean, gosh, this week against Chicago is going to be so telling. If Denver loses to Chicago this week, I might fly to Colorado just so I can pick up the newspapers in Denver. It's going to be incredible TV. It's going to be incredible radio if that team goes 0-4 to the hapless Bears. I mean, would that not be... I'm just rooting for chaos at this point. I'm not a huge Sean Payton fan, as you may imagine, based off of what I just said. So I'm kind of rooting for that right now, although I'm staying away from that game and not betting it.
Stick around for the picks at the bottom of the podcast and the show, because I am touching that game for better or for worse. Are you a golf guy, Tony?
I wish I was a golf bettor. When I drive around here in Austin, I've got a license plate that says bet 110, and there's a dash in the middle. So my vanity plate says bet minus 110. And I dream of the day that someone at a stoplight says, hey, you got any picks tonight? And I can give some like informative handicapping at a stop sign or a stoplight and just be like, yeah, Orioles first 5 innings, the advanced analytics tell me to avoid this starting pitcher. But twice I've had people, who do you like for the golf tournament coming up? And I got nothing. I'm just like, I feel like such a fraud.
That's amazing. But the Ryder Cup started today, and it's a fantastic event. One of the top, 4 or 5 sports events that goes. Crazy stat here, though, well documented going in, but the U.S. has not won on European soil since 1993. 30 years, and they're down 4-0 after the early round this morning. With that in mind, though, Tony, I'd like to welcome you to the first installment of the Huddle 2-minute trivia. I have questions about the year 1993. I have 20 questions. You have 2 minutes. How's your pop culture trivia? How's your sports trivia knowledge?
Sports trivia, I'm feeling better about. The 90s, 93, I was very young at that point, but let's bring it on. Let's do this.
Okay, 2 minutes. I'm going to set my timer. And we got 20 questions about the year 1993, and the clock begins now. Who was inaugurated as the President of the United States in 1993?
Oh, gosh. Prior to Clinton. George Bush Sr.?
Incorrect. It was Bill Clinton. Number 2. Super Bowl 27 was played in 1993. Who won the game?
Cowboys.
Excellent. The score was Dallas 52, Bills 17. What was the point spread in that game?
Ooh, Cowboys, big favorites. I'm going to say 10 points.
It was Dallas minus 6.5. Wayne Gretzky led his LA Kings to its first ever Stanley Cup final. And after winning game 1, they lost the next 4. Who won the Stanley Cup in 1993?
Canadians?
Excellent. It was
Montreal?
the last time a Canadian franchise won the Stanley Cup. Who was the MVP or the Conn Smythe winner?
Oh, no idea. Pass on that one.
Patrick Roy. Question 6. What was the number 1 film at the box office in 1993?
Ooh. Too late for Top Gun. Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park is correct. What was the number 1 selling album in 1993?
Nirvana, Nevermind?
The Bodyguard soundtrack. Which 2 actors starred in The Bodyguard, the movie?
Wait, this is the Whitney Houston. Oh, man. Denzel Washington? No, I'm probably way off.
Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston, you get a half point.
Right.
Which film won the Oscar for Best Picture?
Pass.
Time is up. It was Unforgiven.
Oh, Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. You get 3.5 in the first edition of the Huddle 2-minute trivia. Not a bad showing, though, Tony, to be honest.
I'll take it. I got to tell you, the Jurassic Park thing, the only reason I got that is because I remember as a young kid eating McDonald's and there was a Jurassic Park meal. So that's where my mind went to at that point. I was like, I think that was about that age where they had the Jurassic Park meal at McDonald's. So I think I got lucky to get those that I did get.
Hey, man, that's a great pull. Great stuff on Jurassic Park. I want to get to, we would be completely remiss if we did not talk Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce here. Has any other wife, girlfriend, partner, significant other, or whatever had this much of an impact or gotten this much focus in a news cycle? 400% spike in Kelce jersey sales. Kelce's podcast moves to number 1 on Apple, soon to be overtaken, of course, by the Huddle. He has 380,000 Instagram followers, 63% jump in female viewership for the NFL. I know you have some thoughts here, Tony. What is Tony's take on Taylor and Travis? That's a lot of teas.
I got it. It sure is. I got to tell you, even before the Taylor and Travis connection, I was starting to grow tired of Travis Kelce. This guy's on every TV commercial. He's on vaccine commercials now, car insurance commercials, chunky soup commercials. So you're watching the games on Sundays and you've got multiple commercials on, and it's like Kelce on this TV, Kelce on this TV, Kelce on this TV. And I feel like with my personality, when something's being like shoved in my face and crammed down my throat, it just makes me resist it more. So I was already on the cusp of being like, man, this Travis Kelce stuff's starting to be a little too much. It's kind of like Peyton Manning toward the end of his career, commercials everywhere, Peyton. And now that Peyton's not in the limelight and he's just doing a few things here and there, I'm okay with Peyton. But right now, Kelce, I feel like, is just being shoved in my face. And then you add the Taylor Swift thing on top of it, and I'm just like, come on. So as a handicapper, I'm trying to find actionable information on Twitter. So I go to like Ian Rappaport's Twitter, for instance, and I see tweets about Taylor Swift like 3 or 4 in a row. And I'm like, get out of here. I'm trying to get some sports betting information. So I'm sick of it. I'm sick of Kelce being crammed down our throats. And I'm probably a bit of a hater, and I'll own that, but I'm tired of it.
Hey, man, it's America's new power couple. Are you a Swiftie? Do you know Taylor Swift's music?
Not in the slightest. I dated one person who was a Swiftie, and I'm going to offend some people when I say this, but I'm going to say this anyways. Every Swiftie that I've met, it's almost cult-like. They love her, and they the ones that I've met, this is super anecdotal, seem to just listen to her stuff and not other things, and they're absolutely obsessed. So that just adds a layer for me on top of the frustration that I have toward the Swifties and Kelce.
Don't go against the Swifties, man. They are the most powerful group of people around right now. How long do you give the relationship in months? Over or under what?
Ooh, over under. I think they're going to go through the season for sure, and then I think they'll break up in the summer. So let's say, or maybe a little after that. Not a year, though. So maybe like, let's say 10 months is the over-under.
10 months over-under? That's not a bad line. I'm actually going to take the over. I think they're in it for the long haul. And if Taylor does get dumped, if Travis does dump Taylor, then she'll just shake it off. What do you think? You going the over on that?
Okay, that's the one song I know. I see what you did there. Nice work. Nice work.
That's the one I know as well.
So yeah, over on 10 months. I wouldn't be shocked, but I hope you're wrong. I hope that there's no more Taylor Swift in my life. I hope that the Travis Kelce. I'm sick of it. I'm sorry. I apologize to those that I'm offending, but I don't want Taylor Swift mixed in with my sporting events. How's this for a question, Andrew? What's the over-under on how many times they're going to show her in the press box on the game this week?
Sunday Night Football too, isn't it? Isn't it the Jets game?
Yeah, it sure is.
Man, I'm going to set the line at 11.5.
That's a good line. That's a really good line. I think I'll take the over.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the over too, I think, man. Like, she's going to be everywhere. Hey, Swifties, the Twitter handle is at Tony's Market Tips. I'm supporting. I'm supportive here. I am all about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Before we get into the picks, I want to talk one more topic real quick, Tony. Who is your biggest, I know it's only 3 weeks, it's a small sample size, but who is your biggest surprise, for better or for worse, through 3 weeks of the NFL season?
Man, how about the Cardinals? Even though they're 1-2, you wouldn't typically think someone would mention a 1-2 team as being the biggest positive surprise, but this is a team that could be 3-0. And we got to rewind a little bit to before the season started, because this team was accused of tanking for the number 1 draft pick before the season even started. There were viral reels of their head coach, Jonathan Gannon, sounding kind of clumsy and nerdy, and he didn't sound particularly intelligent or charismatic, so they were getting roasted for that. And then you just look at them bringing in Josh Dobbs at the last second. Budda Baker is now hurt. I mean, what they've been able to do with this bare bones roster and upsetting the Cowboys last week, we haven't talked about that yet. Nobody saw that coming. You've got to give the Cardinals credit. Now, will this last? I don't think they're going to be a team that finishes above 500, but they've shocked me with how hard they've played these first 3 weeks. So I'm also open-minded to it and really curious how these next couple weeks are going to go with them.
I 100% agree. In fact, that's the team that I was bringing to the table here. This is America's team for me. 3-0 against the spread. You're right. They could be 3-0 straight up. Just an unbelievable job. And you're right. Preseason, everybody thought this was going to be the worst team of the season, potentially one of the worst in NFL history. And here they're playing competitive football. They're beating the Dallas Cowboys. Just an incredible job there in Arizona. I want to throw another team out to you. They're 1-2, but I think there's something brewing. I might be crazy, but a big shout out to my guy, DeMeco Ryans, over in Houston with the Texans. Is there something going on there, or am I just making things up?
No, I tell you what, I like the Texans last week to cover. I had a little sprinkle on the Texans money line. And one of the reasons for that is that Jimmy Ward was back in that secondary, and he's such an important player to that team. He's kind of the glue that holds things together, and he wasn't there for the first couple weeks. I think the Texans have the pieces to have a solid pass rush as well. And you mentioned DeMeco Ryans. I mean, the guy's phenomenal defensive coach. And so they're young. That's the thing. So I don't see them like winning a ton more games on the road per se. But they're a great spoiler team that I think a lot of people have completely discounted before the year started. Oh, they're going to be a bottom 3 team, bottom 4 team. But I think that they have a few upsets under their belts when guys are healthy. Right now, coming into this week, they've got cluster injuries. Looks like they're going to be down 3 offensive tackles. So not super optimistic about them this week with those injuries, but when this team is healthy and when they catch teams in the right spot, they're absolutely going to continue to raise eyebrows this season.
Well, let's look ahead to some week 4 action and get some picks in here. Some quick-fired picks to get you sorted for the weekend. Huddle up with me here, Tony. Let's get the viewers ready for the weekend. Give me your first pick.
I like the Chiefs to cover, -9.5. It's a primetime game. We talked about the Taylor Swift angle already. What I want to talk about is that Chiefs defense real quick. They are so underrated. I think the Chiefs offense might actually be a little overrated right now, and we haven't historically talked about the Chiefs defense, but it's solid, and you got to love fading Zach Wilson. The guy's just been absolutely miserable this year. There's some locker room drama with the Jets right now. Some stuff's leaking out, so give me the Chiefs to cover.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Another ex-Niners defensive coordinator, but a bit of a mess there with all that hype and that promise in the preseason going into the regular season. I alluded to it earlier. Broncos, Bears. I'm taking the Broncos as road faves here. This has to be the ultimate bounce back spot in NFL history. After getting destroyed by Miami, if the Broncos have any pride whatsoever, and if Sean Payton is any kind of coach in 2023, they have to bounce back here. Plus, the Bears are an absolute dumpster fire right now, getting rolled by everyone. 0-3 straight up, 0-3 ATS. Worst game of the season, let alone of the week. Gotta bet something, right? So that's my first pick there with the Broncos.
I'm not touching that one, but I'll be watching, thinking of you. But I said I'm rooting for chaos in that one completely. My second bet, I'm going to go with a 2-team 6-point teaser. Got Minnesota teased up to 10.5 against Carolina. Excuse me. Carolina teased up to 10.5 against Minnesota. This is an Adam Thielen revenge game. I think he's going to have a big game against this former team. And then we've got the Eagles teased down from 8 down to 2. All they got to do is win that game by two points. I know that Washington has played the Eagles tough in the past, and I see a lot of sharp bettors taking Washington in this one. I'm skeptical, though. That Washington offensive line is not looking pretty. They're not doing a good job of protecting Sam Howell, and I could see the Eagles that defensive line just absolutely. Jalen Carter, so fun to watch, by the way. I could see that defensive line wreaking havoc on Washington.
Little college football action for my next pick over in the MAC, baby. Eyeing up that Buffalo-Akron game. Akron first half over 13.5. I think Akron is going to be all right this season. Should have won against a Big Ten team in that game against Indiana. I love the look of dual threat QB DJ Irons, though I'd love to see him less turnovers here moving forward. Buffalo just flat out stinks as well. 4 out of conference games, and they've given up 178 points. Absolutely rough start to the season. And you just like to see the identity change with this team under Joe Moorhead. Zips didn't win a damn game in 2019. While last year wasn't great in Moorhead's first season, you can just see the foundations of something being laid down there with that Akron football program. What's your third one?
First, I love you going with a MAC game. I don't know if you knew this, Andrew, but I went to Ball State, MAC school. So I love that you sprinkle a little MAC action in here, some MAC action. I like it. My last game here, I like the Colts this week against the Rams. Definitely shop around on this one, depending on what side you're on, because recently in the marketplace, we've seen the Colts favored by 1 or a pick 'em. And so obviously, if you like the Ram side, you like the getting that point more. If you like the Colts side, you like to pick them more. But what I like here about the Colts, their offensive line has been really good this year. Their offensive line hasn't given up any sacks. They've given up sacks, but when you look at Pro Football Focus grading, they're attributed to other players on the team, running backs, missing assignments, things like that. The offensive line has been really solid. I think they can neutralize the Rams' pass rush and Aaron Donald. And the Rams are not a good pass blocking team at all. So when you look at the pass blocking gradings by team so far this season, of course, the Giants are right down at the bottom of the league. The Steelers are right down at the bottom of the league because they both had awful week 1 performances. That shouldn't surprise anybody. But I wonder if it surprises people that the Rams are the 3rd worst pass blocking team as a unit heading into this game. And oh, by the way, they're going to be without their starting left tackle this week. So I like the Colts a lot in this one.
Yeah, I love that one too. On to the pitch for my third and final one, Premier League. I'm on Man United -1 at Old Trafford against Crystal Palace. These two teams just played in the League Cup. Heavy rotation in both starting lineups there, but United did win that 3-zip. I like that as a little bit of a confidence boost for a team that has had a pretty rough start to the season. So maybe we are seeing Man United improve just a little bit here. Casemiro been playing well. I like what Reguilon brings to the table and a few other players on that United team. Eric Ten Hag needs to sort it out or he could get the sack. And Palace is just so drab. Roy Hodgson, too old, needs to hang him up, the manager there. Just 6 goals scored in 6 games on 8.22 expected goals. With the push in play, gimme Man United -1. There you go. 6 quick picks. Tony, one more question before you go. You had a teaser in there. Explain to the folks at home, maybe they don't know what a teaser is. Break down what a teaser is a little bit.
Yeah, teaser. They do have teasers in other sports. I recommend them just for NFL betting, but the casino is going to actually give you some points to play with. It could be a 6-point teaser, a 7-point teaser, 6.5-point teaser, 10-point teaser. But the catch is you have to pair it with other games. So you could have a 6-point 3-game teaser. You can also tease totals. Don't recommend it because it's, you're going to have a little less luck that way. But you can add points to the total or point spread and manipulate the spread or total. But again, you've got to pair those things together and have multiple games.
And there's an unwritten rule to never tease through 0. Why is that?
Yeah, you're just, math-wise, you're just not getting the same value on those points. You want to tease through 3 and 7 because those are the key numbers. About 15% of NFL games land on exactly 3. Little under that, land on exactly 7. So if those are the most likely outcomes to occur through the history of the NFL, you want to make sure that you're teasing through those key numbers. I will say this, with more 2-point conversions going on in the NFL this year, those key numbers are shifting a little tiny bit because we're seeing a little less extra points. So it's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, you don't want to be teasing through 0. I don't want to say never because, every once in a while a situation will come up. Maybe you're hedging a bet or something like that. But you really want to avoid teasing through 0 and avoid teasing those games with really high totals.
There you go. First episode of The Huddle, done and dusted. We thank you all so much for listening or for watching if you're here on YouTube. Anything else you want to throw to the folks at home before we sign off here, Tony?
Just forgive me, Taylor Swift fans. I spoke my heart. I said how I feel. Please don't come after me.
Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next Friday on The Huddle. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.